So I do think I figured it out, and if I can do it, I think about anyone can do it. And that includes, I just moved 7 months ago to a new country. I'm learning languages, learning where to go, figuring out the cultural aspects, and still have my life in balance. And it took a long time. I've come home a number of times, probably I think 3 times, where I had a crying wife, and we had long talks into the night, and I told her if I couldn't get it together in 3 months, I would quit. I've resigned twice from P&G. So this has been a pretty long journey. And what I'm trying to do is share you what I did, because it took me about 16 years to get my work-life balance figured out. I've had horrendous times where it was pretty bad. And it's not like it's been an easy ride. And the difference between now and then is I'm just not as stupid now as I was 16 or 20 years ago. And so I've kind of figured it out. And what I hope to do today is to give you some ideas to work with, some coping strategies that you can accelerate your own learning curve. Work-life balance is a lot about perception. It's how you feel. What is balanced for one person may be a nightmare for another. The second thing is that it's about personal choice. Some people are making better choices than others, and therefore they may have better balance. A lot of this is going to be in your hands. What we're going to do is give you a lot of tools. Whether you take the tools and build something with it is going to be totally up to you. The issue, I think, is there's a fundamental flaw in how we've been looking at this. And the issue is all we ever talk about is time management. It's nothing but time management. Get people out early, get people in it. When I go back and reflect on why my wife was crying, why I had work-life balance issue problems, they often had nothing to do with time management. I've had a number of people that I've talked with, when I've been mentoring them, I've told them, with your issues, I could send you home at 11 o'clock every day in the morning, and you're still going to have a work-life balance issue problem. You can't just fix it by working the clock. So we got to go a little bit deeper, and that's what we're going to do here today. Now, I admit time is part of it. This isn't a Jim Lafferty presentation to say you should work all the hours of day and night, and it won't really matter. It is partly time, but it's much more complex than time. It's how do you feel? How do you feel? Do you feel you have balance or not? If you don't feel you do, it doesn't matter about what the clock is saying. How do you feel? On top of that, it's how does your family and loved ones, how satisfied are they? I didn't have a work-life balance issue problem in Morocco until I came home and had a crying wife. Up until the minute I walked in the door, I was totally happy. Then I was notified by someone who's very important to me that I have a work-life balance issue problem. I have found that at maybe half the time, the work-life balance issue problem is coming from loved ones. The worker itself doesn't have an issue, but the family does. So we're going to talk a lot about this one. Your health and well-being. I've noticed many people, especially because, it's like, everything's not fair. I'm going to go back to my physiologist days. From the age of 21, your metabolism slows about 1% to 2% a year. So the moment you graduate from college, you come here. And everything hits at the same time. Your metabolism is slowing, you finally have money to buy stuff, and you have some person coming with donuts every morning in front of your desk. You put the whole combo together, and suddenly you're always buying new clothes because they're getting too tight. And so then you get pissed off at P&G. Because you remember when you were this bouncy fit person, and now when you walk up one flight of stairs, you're wheezing at the top of the steps. Okay, and you go, I don't like this, and you're mad at P&G. Okay, I was a fitness instructor. At P&G. Okay, my weight crept up over years. I was in Poland, I got up to 260. I'm 198 right now. So I was about almost 65 pounds heavier than I am today. I'm sitting typing at my computer one day, and my fingers are stuck to the keys. And I look down, and there's blood all over the keyboard. And I'm dripping blood out of my nose as I'm leaning over the keyboard. Now, I was at rest in a non-stressed state. They call the company doctor. I'm 36 years old. They call the company doctor, and they say, come up and check him. She took my resting blood pressure. This was my resting blood pressure. 220 over 140, causing spontaneous nosebleeds because of blood pressure. Now, I made a decision at that day that I wasn't going to die selling soap. at the age of 36. And that was the beginning of coming back. I ran my first marathon after a 10-year absence, 9 months after that, and I hadn't stopped since. But often the issue starts with people don't like how they feel anymore. Out of work sense of fulfillment. This is a massive one. My general observation, this is a Jim observation, when people don't have a life outside of Proctor, they have a work-life balance issue problem. You know, we got to deal with stuff. What we do is important, but it's not that important. The majority of the people in this room sell toilet paper. I want you to keep it in perspective, okay? Keep it in perspective. It's important, but this should not define your life. If it does, you're going to have a big issue, and that will start it. You got to have things that mean something to you outside of the office, and there's nothing wrong with that. But everyone I've seen that becomes a 99.9% proctoid, they're miserable. Because this isn't enough. You're never going to get the full fulfillment here. You need to have personal dreams in that. You know, you have to deal with a little bit of reality, and this is a hard thing, and sometimes people 65 years old in our company don't get it. I want you to think about retirement parties you've gone to. I want you to think about stuff. When presidents retire and people that are really important retire, it's the same. It's always the same. They go, there's a cake, a clock, a couple speeches, and the week after we forgot them. That will happen to you. The only place that you're irreplaceable is in your life, in your family. You're not irreplaceable in this building. We will not miss you. We will not miss me. Don't kid yourself. But see, the problem is that you get people all the time who say the rules of life don't apply to me. When I leave the company, and I had a boss once who retired at 65, he was miserable. He kept coming back to the office after he retired where the company had to tell him to stop. He literally thought the company was going to alter our retirement age because of him. He told me that. I thought they would change the rules for me. And the answer is no, we're not. The only place you're irreplaceable in your life is your life, not Proctor. So you got to have things outside. The final thing is relationships. How are they going? Often relationship struggles. I had a band two in Poland, I'll never forget it. She comes to me and she says, I quit the company, I don't have a boyfriend because of P&G. And I bit my tongue like I've never bit it. Because I was like saying, you know, as a guy, I could give you a lot of feedback on this. and it has really nothing to do with P&G. But I'll do the old zipper and I'll nod and smile and say, you know, good luck. And you know, it's quite interesting because I've stayed in touch with that individual, and she's very bitter now, 10, 12 years later, and it hasn't changed much. And since going to GlaxoSmithKline hasn't helped, going to a local Polish pharmaceutical company hasn't helped, going to Gerber hasn't helped, and I don't know where she's at now. But always in seeking in that, and always the issue was to look externally. But the foundation of it was she didn't have, you know, the right relationships in her life, and that was a big issue on work-life balance. When people are having relationship problems, it'll often come and it'll thrive right out there. And you got to look at, again, the strategy isn't, I got a work-life balance issue problem. The strategy is, what do I have to do to fix the relationship? And we'll talk a little bit about that.